Hello, BookTube. Well, it happened again. I guess we should get used to this by now. Once again, I had a Ninja mail delivery much later in the day than I expected. This time it wasn't the U.S. mail truck, it was UPS. UPS arrived well after dark and left, what have we got here? 5 packages uh, without a doorbell ring, without anything of the kind. So I didn't even notice them until today, and boy, oh boy, do I need to pick me up today, since today is, not only do we lose an hour through some arcane, time-saving, clock-moving maneuver that I never get used to, but also, oh, the day, the day in Boston has been extremely dreary. Gray skies, no sunlight, sleet, snow, freezing rain, the whole length of it, making me long in my heart for my great long-lost love, the great long-lost love of my life. Dry, non-slippery sidewalks. That is the thing I crave more than anything else in the world, is a sidewalk on which I can walk without mincing my steps, because at any moment I could fall and shatter into 1,000 pieces. That's all I want, is dry sidewalks. I'm not going to get them today. So we do have mail to do, even though it's Sunday, because... And, you know, the mystery is compounded by the fact that I got a UPS delivery yesterday. The driver must just have made it a second swing and just not thought that I would be here. I don't know, one way or another. So let's go through these and see what we have. It's a rain bedraggled Sunday mail haul, so my hopes are not high, but it might be a gem. Are you up for demolishing mail on Sunday? Free to be? I don't imagine that you are. But, oh, yes, you are. You're always up for demolishing mail. She is torn because she wants to go on nice long walks, but she also hates water. She hates the rain. So we go out and nothing happens. She does her filthy, sinful business, and then we come back inside. Anyway, oh my, okay. Okay, great. Fantastic. Alright, this is due in May. This will not be a stranger to any of you on BookTube. This is the latest in the seasonal quartet of Ali Spring. This is Spring. Or Ali Smith. This is her novel Spring. It comes out in May. I got a very nice card from the publicist. In a time of walls and lockdowns, Ali Smith opens doors. Please take a look, which of course no reader of new releases in the 21st century needs that urging. You have to read these books. I read the first 2. I thought they were remarkably dissimilar, and I really liked both of them in very different ways, almost like they were by 2 different writers. Can't wait to read the third one. That's fantastic. This is one of those instances. They aren't common, as you know, if you watch this channel. When it comes to fiction, they aren't common. This is one of those instances where I am in complete lockstep with most of the critical world, where I not only want to read this, but certainly will. I'll do my best to either review it or find a reviewer for it. Ali Smith is playing a deep game. It's a smart game. It's very inventive, very spirited, in a way that makes me wish for a reviewer who isn't me. In this rare instance, I ordinarily don't. I am a hack for all seasons, but when it comes to, I will attempt to find a reviewer for this book, for Open Letters. If I fail, I will review it myself. But one way or another, I want to get to reading it right away. All right, so that's a fine start. Anything from you, Bean, or you just... No? She's probably feeling a little bloated because one of the things she absolutely refuses to do. It is still raining. It is still cold and raining outside. It's been doing it all day. And one of the things she absolutely refuses to do, I can sometimes convince her to go out and walk for a bit and shake her leg and hike her leg, but she absolutely refuses to poop in the rain. And I can't really blame her. I don't think I'd want to either. It is lessening. This sleet is lessening. This miserable, cold slush all over everything is lessening as we approach sunset. So maybe at night it won't be. It's just awful. Maybe it'll be good enough after sunset so that she will pee and poop without looking at me every 3 seconds like, make it stop. So what on earth? Okay. All right. This comes out in a week. It's by Adam Kirsch, who's fantastic, and it's called "Who Wants to Be a Jewish Writer?" and Other Essays. Who wants to be a Jewish writer? He's one of today's finest literary critics. That's actually true. This collection brings together his essays on poetry, religion, and intersections between them, with a particular focus on Jewish literature. He explores the definition of Jewish literature, the relationship between poetry and politics, and the future of literary reputation in the age of the internet. So this is going to be a bunch of pieces of his that I have already read, starting with Who Wants to Be a Jewish Writer, but also there's a piece on the Book of Psalms. There's a piece, I remember this one, was a piece on Shea Heaney, where Adam Kirsch becomes just the latest in a long, long line of members of the chosen people to try to understand my bog-trotting lowbrow kin. It's doomed to failure, but he tries. Let's see. Oh, Christian Wyman. He's the poet, Christian Wyman. He's a big fan. I know some of you are as well. This is his essay on Okay, and he tries to rehabilitate the reputation of Stefan Zweig. I don't get that at all. Periodically, people try to do that, and the author is so self-evidently awful that it always mystifies me. But there's a lot of. I noticed in the table of contents there are pieces in here that I have not read, so that's a treat, an unlooked for treat. And this has such a close publication date that I can indulge in getting those things right away. Great, fantastic. So I have some Adam Kirsch to look forward to. He's my sort of the go-to first author in any periodical where his name appears in the table of contents. So a whole book, great. All right, so what have we got here? This is from Vintage. It's a trade paperback original coming out in June. Okay. What on earth is this? This is... Oh, so you're... Okay, so the advanced copy here has no copyright information. No date whatsoever. Wow. In fact, the copyright page has been torn out of this copy. A review copy that was sent to a reviewer has been mutilated. Before it got to me, somebody physically tore out the page. Okay, that's kind of strange. It makes this volume completely useless to me. But nevertheless, I'll show it to you. This is by William Melvin Kelly, and it is A Different Drummer. And the pub sheet says that it is a reissue of his classic debut novel. I don't know that. I have no idea. As far as I'm concerned, this didn't come from the publisher, because someone ripped at it before they put it in the envelope, and there's no there's no note of any kind. There's no explanation of that. So I don't know what this is. We'll explore it together, and then I'll throw it away. It'll be a trade paperback original in early June. It was originally published in hardcover by Doubleday in 1962, but I would have to confirm that online. That is supposed to be part of this book. That is part of this book's history. So it's supposed to be in this book, and it's not. When the author was just 24, the novel has long been an essential title in the canon of African-American literature and is more relevant today than ever. Shame that didn't save it from vandalism. In A Different Drummer, we learn the story of Tucker Caliban, a young black farmer who one day leads his people in a spontaneous exodus, throwing the world of white southern townspeople into confused disarray. Told from the points of view of the white residents who are left behind in more ways than one, A Different Drummer remains, almost 60 years after its first publication, one of the most trenchant, imaginative, and hard-hitting works of fiction to come out of the bitter struggle for civil rights. Okay, this sounds fascinating. I will have to get in touch with the publisher and see if they can send me a copy. A whole copy. Okay, so I guess something like this comes out in June. I am a reader, yes, absolutely, and that description appeals to me as a reader, but I am also a reviewer, and I'm getting this as a reviewer, and for a reviewer, a review copy and an advanced copy that has a page torn out is completely useless. So let's just move on. How utterly bizarre. Has that ever happened in the time that we've been looking at mail together? Has that ever happened? I can't remember the last time I got an advance copy that was mutilated. You, as a book reviewer, you look for a few things. You look for, of course, the worth of the text under review. How does it work? That sort of thing. You look for the author. What have they done? But you also look for the practical details. You are responsible for them, conveying them to your readers as much as you are anything else, and those practical details are gone from this book. Somebody ripped them out of this copy. All right. Well, this is definitely a rainy day mail haul, so let's move on to this next one. See if we can't recover our swing just a bit. What is this next one? Oh, okay. All right. This comes out in June, when I presume it will no longer be sleeting and freezing cold. I don't know that for sure, but I presume that June it will no longer be sleeting and freezing cold. That in June I will not have to walk like an invalid on the sidewalk. I haven't been able to walk normally on a sidewalk in my neighborhood since early September, and that's a long time. I would like a dry, non-treacherous sidewalk back. I would like to go to the top of my driveway and not commence moving while standing still. I go to the top of my driveway, I stand still, and I start sliding. I would like that not to happen. So maybe in June. Maybe in June that will happen. This is an author I really like. He's a thriller writer, and his name is Mark Billingham. This is Their Little Secret. It's a Tom Thorne novel. I've read everything, I think, by this author and loved it all. It's a pure escapist thriller writing, but with a brain, with a bite. So this comes out in June. It's the latest Tom Thorne thriller, in which a seemingly straightforward suicide turns into a chilling story of obsession, deception, and murder. When D.I. Tom Thorne is called to conduct a routine assessment at the site of a suicide, he expects to be in and out in no time. But when he arrives at the metro station where a woman named Philippa Goodwin threw herself in front of an underground train, Thorne inexplicably senses something awry and feels compelled to dig deeper. He soon discovers that she was the victim of a callous con man whose deception plunged Philippa to her end. Enraged that one man's trickery caused an innocent death, Thorne enlists D.I. Nicola Tanner to help him track down the swindler and bring him to justice. But the detective duo get more than they bargained for when a young man's lifeless, bludgeoned body turns up on the shore of a nearby seaside town. It appears that very con artist they're searching for is connected to the murder. Okay, great. This is brilliantly plotted with a shocking psychological bent. Their Little Secret is another masterful thriller from one of Britain's most beloved crime thrillers, and I'm rather fond of him too. So I can't off the top of my head remember the title of his last book. Okay, yeah, the last book that I read from him was, I think, Rush of Blood. So I've got a couple to catch up on. But I was able to determine that by consulting the copyright information on this book. I'm glad it's there. That's great. Still bothering me. Sorry about that. I hate having to throw away a book. But if you're going to send me something that someone has decided to censor, then it's no good to me. But anyway, this is whole. And it's Their Little Secrets. It comes out in June. A thriller in June. And then we get to the last one. This will be the last one, then we'll end up this dark, dreary, cold, clammy, rainy day mail haul. We'll wrap it up there. So let's see. What is this last one? Oh, God help us. Okay. All right. Well, all right. This comes out in June as well. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, some of these things might appeal to some of you more than they do to me, and then we did have the Ali Smith. And Mark Billingham he never fails you. So this is by Alexander Heyman, and it is This Does Not Belong to You, which comes out in June. This Does Not Belong to You. 2 stunning books in a flip format. So we have My Parents, an introduction. On one side, so it's printed that way. That's a memoir. And then printed on the other side is This Does Not Belong to You. One is a heartbreaking story of the author's parents' immigration from Sarajevo to Canada, and the other is a dazzling book of short memories of the author's family, friends, and childhood in Sarajevo. So the pub sheet is entirely blurbs, all praising this author. He has been praised for his entire literary career. I've never understood it. I thought that his book, The Making of Zombie Wars, was kind of clever in just about what I consider to be the whole of this author's range, the range that he can comfortably handle. He did nothing in Making of Zombie Wars that was beyond him, and he did a lot of things in Making of Zombie Wars that he does well. And in all of his other books, he overreaches and falls flat and is praised for it. So, and this is just a double dose of memoir. This is a double dose of memoir. Heartbreaking, dazzling stories about love and loss, about his family, which is belied by the childish prankster. This is what pulp science fiction novels did. This flip format. It's a trick. It's a gimmick. It was designed to underscore that picking up a pulp science fiction flip novel was fun. It seems to belie the nature of these stories to do it in this way. And that is this author all over. Good Lord, look at this. This pub sheet is just covered in blurbs. Okay, well, so a double dose of memoirs coming out in June. Alexander Heyman, an author whose personal story I have never been slavering to learn. Decided anticlimax. In fact, it's a double dose of anticlimax. All right, so not a stunning mail haul, I have to admit, but on such a miserable day, I'd hardly expect it. So we have everything that you ever wanted to know about Alexander Heyman, and were either afraid or quite simply disinclined to ask. Then we have Their Little Secret by Mark Billingham, in which an apparent suicide turns out to the classic thriller character way. The whole thing depends, for its kickoff, on the superior instincts of the main character. We see that going all the way back to Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Something has to jump out at one person. And if it didn't, if that person wasn't there, had a head cold, got stopped at a routine traffic stop, something like that, and didn't get to the crime scene in time, then nothing would be uncovered. It's just that one thing. And I'm not decrying that. I'm not denigrating it at all, because life is a lot like that. Right? Many situations, legitimately, one person's intuition is extremely valuable. Look at how much we're seeing of that in the groundbreaking, award-winning news coverage that's happening in the news today. Ironically called fake news by a greater percentage of people in the Western world than ever before, even though we have some of the greatest reporters who've ever worked doing some of their greatest work on some of their greatest subject matter. And a lot of times, those stories are generated by that one snag of somebody's intuition. Something here doesn't add up, and I don't even know quite what it is. And I'm sure that perhaps plenty of you have been that person in your life, especially in your workplace. It is real. It's not a gimmick like so many of the gimmicks that the made-up stories use, or I suspect heavily fictionalized memoirs use those gimmicks as well. So I don't mind. I don't mind that that's the opening gimmick of this book. I would read anything this author writes anyway. Then we have the debut novel of William Melvin Kelly, A Different Drummer, from 1962, when the author was 24 years old. I'll have to try and find a copy. Then Who Wants to Be a Jewish Writer? A collection of essays by Adam Kirsch, in which I've read most of these things, but looking at the table of contents, I see some things that I don't recognize. So maybe I have read them, and the publication where they originally appeared gave them a different title than what's in here. Once they go back to him, he can title them anything he wants. So maybe they will be familiar, or maybe I have the treat of a few Adam Kirsch essays that I haven't read before. One way or another, I recommend this author. If you like critical and literary essays, and you happen to pick up an issue of, I don't know, the London Review of Books or the New York Review of Books, and you see him in the table of contents, that's worth the price of the thing right there. There'll be lots of other people that are worth the price, but he alone can justify the $4 for the issue. And the last one, Allie Smith, Spring, the latest novel, unintentionally rubbing salt in the wound, since there's nothing that I want more today than spring. Nothing that I do. And it's spring. This weird time face clock manipulation is a sign of spring. The groundhog ceremony that would be so much more interesting if the local dogs got to eat the groundhog when it's over, that also is a sign of spring. All of these signs are of spring. The declination of the entire planet is changing for spring, but spring refuses to come. So it's in the news a lot, and it's technically in the weather and in the world. And yet, we just came off a week in which the high temperature of the warmest day was 11 degrees Fahrenheit, in which going outside for any length of time was a frightful emergency. Just being outside was a frightful emergency that had to be ended as soon as possible because you were coming close to dying. You were in severe peril just being outside. And now we're heading into double digits in March. And we had snow all morning long, and now there's sleet and freezing rain, and it is freezing cold and dark as night. So yeah, if literary genius can invoke spring to come, that would be great. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. If I'm complaining about the weather, then we know that this mail haul failed. It's something to commend it that it happened at all, right? I wasn't expecting more books. Now I have a couple more that are of interest, and we shall see about the others. Mail resumes tomorrow, so I will see you all then. Thank you, BookTube.